New surroundings. New spot. In the room with us.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I'm overwhelmed by how much I love it.
Yeah?
I don't know how to tell you, but I am in love with it.
You are usually just whelmed, so this is exciting.
I think also, like, contextually for us, the studio is great here. I hope that it looks amazing on the cameras. I hope that the audience love it at home. But if you were to come to the office is also sick.
The office is awesome. Yeah. So we are talking to you for the very first time at the new Secret Leaders HQ in London Bridge. Got an awesome office. Sorry, I forgot my English there. An awesome office. A beautiful studio on Bermondsey Street. It is prime. All of it is so nice.
Yeah. So if you're listening on audio, like, make sure you actually go and check out the YouTube, because this studio is fucking awesome. We're so incredibly proud of it, and I think that you're all going to love the content we make here.
Yeah, I'd love to see some comments actually about what you think we could do to improve it, or what you like about it.
And it's nice for us as well, because I think that if you're ever thinking about making a podcast, or you're trying to build on YouTube or whatever, it is much more work than you think it is. Like, you know, you've got to be very present. And so we've been moving around studios and whatever. It's been very difficult when you're running other businesses. And so to have it all here professionally set up means that I think we're going to get some of the best guests in the world who will come here and be like, wow, this is a proper setup. So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, I think the first time I ever saw the potential on the inside of this was going on Diary of a CEO. So I was the first ever video
with
guest.
Your hat on.
Yeah, I didn't. Obviously,
can we get that on the screen?
If I'd have known that was going to become the most popular podcast in the UK,
in the world,
it may be in the world.
And you were episode 1.
I was the first ever guest.
Can he not have you back on?
Yeah, I do need to ask, don't I?
Would he have you back on now?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I'm going to Cape Town next month, and he's there as well. So we're gonna hang out, play paddle.
Yeah.
Gonna catch up. Maybe if my story's evolved enough, maybe he'll let me come back on.
Either of you good at paddle?
I don't think either of us are particularly good at paddle, so it'll be
That's okay as well.
I think it'll be all right. It'll be an average game of paddle.
Pat the ball back and forth.
Exactly.
Anyway, welcome back to Secret Leaders. Last week we had Dom Smales on. We talked about the creator economy. We talked about the incredible business that he built. He's sort of OG influencer, worked with Grace Beverly, worked with Zoella back in the day, and built this, mega business and exited the business. And we talk about the creator economy. So go and watch that episode. It was such an interesting conversation. And then we've just wrapped on filming with Casper Lee, and have filmed an incredible episode with him talking about, his transition from being effectively a big YouTuber into now being kind of entrepreneur extraordinaire. He owns influencer.com, best domain name ever.
Yeah, it's very good.
Massive agency in the influencer space. He owns a talent management company, a student accommodation company, and he owns Creative Ventures, which is his investment arm into businesses. He invested in our business Lottie.
He invested in Lottie, turned down Heights.
Yeah, that is true. But
he can't win them all, mate.
Yeah.
But he's only 30.
He's
done a lot by 30.
He has to be he's quite understated these days, but he has to be one of the more out and out successful entrepreneurs around.
Probably. He's a very low ego energy, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Totally.
Feels like he's made it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Like, it's very calm, very present. Like, just a nice person to be in a room with, to be honest. It was very relaxing and comfortable.
Actually, my takeaway from talking to him, I reckon his superpower probably is what he said. He's probably very good at finding incredible people.
Yeah, partnering with people.
Leveraging them up, providing his
And
leverage.
He said, his hero was Richard Branson. Is exactly what he did in all of his businesses, right?
So Richard, come on the show, whichever camera you're watching through. We would love to have you on here. But yeah, what an amazing conversation, because I suppose so many people are growing up now thinking, I want to be a creator, I want to be an influencer. A lot of entrepreneurs are looking at the space, and talking to him, you get the good and the bad. You're like, he obviously stopped being an influencer, which isn't spoken about very much, because it is very difficult when you build an audience to maintain an audience. And
we talk about this together. Yeah. I'm way more conscious of the pitfalls of fame and notoriety than you are. And I've seen it through the lens of people like Stephen, for example, who I've known since we were over 10 years ago, right? So when no one knew him to now. It's a very different reality for him. I've known a bunch of people who have big audiences and are objectively famous, and it's not great. It's really, really hard. Once the genie's out the box, getting it back in is very, very hard. So I've always taken a much more conscious and thoughtful approach to it. And I've talked to you a lot about it, right? Because obviously you're just going ham on growing often, which sometimes is out of your control anyway, because you create good enough content and it will reach people. But it is one of those things where if I had a criticism for you or like a thing to watch out for, I think that you clearly an optimist and not necessarily thinking about, what is the downside of becoming really famous. There is big downsides to it. And he got out of that completely, right? So he long enough ago that kind of the world of that had forgotten about Casper, right? So he could totally exist quite anonymously, I think, throughout.
I don't know. I think he's so famous that he was so famous.
Maybe you're right. But but taking the conscious decision to remove yourself out of that space is quite hard. And like to your point, then he hasn't done it for a long time, and you still think that he'd be really famous. So once you're etched in people's brains, you kind of can't get left alone.
He has like fandom,
right?
I even think I saw an episode that he actually met his fiance. She was a fan. I think I saw that. I should have asked him about that. But yeah, I think he's got super fandom, and I think a lot of creators intentionally make content, which I do. Yeah. And I'm so glad that I started doing it at 32 rather than doing it at 22, because I know exactly what does and doesn't make it onto my. And you'll notice like very little of my personal life gets shared. Yeah. Like I shared a photo of Louise and I on my Instagram the other day. It's the first time I've ever done that.
Really?
It's the first photo of my wife that's ever made it onto my Instagram. And the feedback from my audience was mad. It was, it was just the story, and it was like thousands of people being like, so nice to see, like, obviously like beautiful wife, etc., etc. But I was like, wow, I've literally never shared my personal life on here, which I'm now being very selective about what I do and don't share, and try and use it as much as possible. But I don't think fame is ever the goal.
Yes, that's so the point. Fame is not the goal. Yeah. Fame is kind of obviously it is for some people, but fame can be the accident. That can be a really negative thing. So our friend Simon Squibb is a really good example. He's like objectively famous now.
Yeah, but
you walk down the street with Simon and he will get stopped non-stop. Yeah. So that's cool.
But he wanted that.
Yes, he wanted that. Yeah. But also once it's happening to you, it's quite challenging. You're trying to get somewhere and people keep bumping into people. I literally bumped into 3 people I knew. This is not from fame. This is just people that I knew.
Yeah.
On the way to the office this morning. And it pissed me off so much because I was trying to multitask and do things. I had to stop. I was doing a fucking voice note halfway through and say hello to someone on the voice note.
I have given this a lot of thought, and I am Simon's biggest fan. Yeah, I think he's an absolute legend, and I love what he does and stands for and all the rest of it. But when you are intentionally trying to be as famous as he is, to then be like, oh, fame's so bad.
Which he's not doing that, right? But I'm saying
he has definitely been like, there's downsides to it and all the rest of it. It's like, but he has for 5 years been working at that. And I think you knew him before he was famous, right? Yeah. But he has intentionally, day after day, made content with the sole purpose of gaining followers. Yeah. To then be like, oh, it's bloody awful.
And he's very honest about it. He spent millions of his own money building audience.
But do you know what's really important about fame is that if you put a cap on, very rarely, your recognizability goes down by like 75%.
That is true.
Just put a cap on.
But you've got good hair. You want to ruin that? You want to ruin that?
No, I just think it's like I had one of the first like slightly eerie moments myself the other day where I actually intentionally am building an audience, so I don't mind people talking to me. I actually love it. And especially when people like your content's helped me, or the Bad Boss stuff. People like your content gave me the confidence to quit my job.
Yeah, I was in the pub with you when someone came over and started telling you how great your content was.
Oh, I forgot about that. But the other day,
Shoreditch after we were recording.
Yeah, the other day I was on holiday and I was in. I needed to get an inhaler because I was feeling wheezy. Yeah. And I went to the doctor in Barbados, and and I was wearing a fucking mask because I was in the hospital, and he was like, "Oh my god, are you?" And I was like, "Oh no, is this the moment it's going to happen?" And he was like, "I love your content," and I was like, "Oh my god, this is so niche." And then it turned out I was trying to get hold of an inhaler, which you can't do without a prescription. He gave it to me without a prescription, and I was like, "Wow. This has got some benefits, let me tell you."
That's hilarious.
But it was one of those moments I was like, wow, content can really, it really can go a long way.
Speaking of creator economy stuff, did you see this OnlyFans? I think they had to file their accounts or whatever. It went viral. I think it's been 42 employees that they've got. and the highest revenue per employee company pretty much of all time, like smashing Apple, Microsoft, any of these guys.
It's 100% privately owned by a guy.
It's wild business.
Isn't that the most
English guy?
But so my takeaway for everyone listening, watching, whatever, is if that doesn't tell you that the idea of gated content is being slept on at an unbelievable level, I don't know what does. Because at a fundamental level, all they're doing is gating content.
Yep.
With a paywall.
Yeah, you're subscribing to people's content.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
personally paying for it rather than ads.
Like they gained insane notoriety off the back of the fact that their core audience is pornographic.
Yeah.
But if you were to remove that, it's just gated content, everyone. And so, like, why does everyone still so obsessed with the sponsorship model when if you can build an incredible community with gated content, you're off to the races?
Oh, totally.
And that is like you're building depth with your audience while monetizing, and your audience are along for the ride. I just think everyone's sleeping on it.
And I think there's also the other side of it, which is it's really nice, right? There's a nice dynamic. You're being valued by your audience, and you've also created a revenue stream where your incentive and intention is to give your all back to your audience.
Total win-win.
It's totally symbiotic.
Yeah.
It like makes perfect sense.
And like we were just speaking to Casper about this earlier, so the episode will come out at some point soon. But we were
next week.
We were talking about the idea that if you build a gated community, so content behind a paywall, that you give value to the audience values you, that could be sponsored by the perfectly aligned sponsor. And so like, I had this thing on my channels the other day, which is I've started posting less of my quite famous Bad Boss series. And the reason I'm posting less of it is that I think that the stories I'm getting sent are still wild. I get sent like 10 to 15 a week. It's crazy. But it's quite hard to verify them. So you have to verify the stories are real before you read them out. And then at the same time, like I'm enjoying making other content and it's doing way less well. And some of my audience are giving me shit for it. And I'm like, but I have to enjoy it at the same time as you have to enjoy it. And so when you're just to the, at the mercy of just views, it's actually quite a brutal game. But in a gated community, you don't have that.
That's so true.
And so in the gated community, whenever I do a talk or I do like a thematic, Q&A, the feedback is like, thank you so much for the high value that you've put into this. If I was to do that on my channels, despite it being really valuable, I'd get loads of shit for it. And so it's a very interesting dynamic moving forward with content, I think.
This is probably the right moment to ask people to subscribe to our YouTube and obviously our My Only Dans.
Also, check out the YouTube. Like, it's flying. Genuinely. It's like overjoyed with the feedback we're getting on the channel now.
Yes, please do subscribe to our YouTube because it's actually going well, and it is bloody hard to get off the ground there. So feeling good about that.
And share it with your friends.
Did you see Lily Allen and Kate Nash, who, by the way, because I can see your face and you look confused, are female pop artists?
No, Rosie did tell me.
Yeah, you know?
Yeah, I do know.
Okay, fine. So they are funding their latest tours by, I think Lily Allen is selling pictures of her feet on OnlyFans and Kate Nash is selling pictures of her ass or whatever on OnlyFans. And that's how they're funding their tours because apparently
that's why
the billion streams that they have on Spotify, only pays them out about 30p. So,
yeah, I mean, it's another pretty perfect example of how like the model that everyone believed works isn't working. And if you can productize something, which I mean, that's mad that they're actually productizing their feet and their asses, whatever. But it is true. Like a lot of what I do is train entrepreneurs to get better at profile building. But a lot of those people are creators. And the thing I get told a lot of the time is people will come in, they'll have 1 million followers and they'll be like, I don't make any money. And then people assume that followers mean money. Yeah. But actually, it often comes down to smart productization and alignment with audience rather than size of audience. And so, I'm sure you'll see more and more of that.
I think so. I've also recently switched from trainers like yours to trainers like mine that are flat, that fatten up my feet. And the goal really is to sell pictures of my feet on OnlyFans to fund this podcast. So
you're
please
flattening your feet out?
Well, the barefoot shoes, right? So my toes spread out like that, and it's better for your posture and all this kind of stuff. That's why they look so ridiculous, the shape of it.
They do look a bit ridiculous.
Yeah.
Little Santa shoes.
Exactly. Yeah, they're quite odd. But listen, this little elf is going to make money selling pictures of his flat, gorgeous feet on the internet, and you will be laughing. It's funny, isn't it? There's this weird thing in society where once you're famous, people give you things for free, but that's the moment where you can actually afford them in the first place.
Yeah. But then I would say like a lot of brands will reach out and be like, we'll give you the thing for free. And actually, if you're smart, I think with how you build your brand, you should never do that.
Yeah, you should say, I'll pay for it, and if I want to work with them,
yeah.
I'll work it out myself.
And the brand deals that you get from being more selective means that you will get paid a lot more money over here than getting maybe a free flight over here.
Yeah.
And so when you see influencers doing like free flights, they're very rarely ever paid for that. They're just getting the flight.
Yeah.
Which means that actually that whole piece of content made them like, I don't know, 700, 800 quid or something.
Yeah, totally.
If you're doing business internationally, you should check out Wise Business, the app for doing things in other currencies. Wise Business is the only account you need to manage your company's international money with ease. You can pay and get paid in up to 40 currencies globally, without the headache of multiple accounts. Here's what makes Wise Business incredible. Fast payments, direct integration with platforms like Amazon and Stripe, and seamless connections to your accounting software. With real-time tracking and 24/7 security, your international finances stay protected and under control. Even better, there are no hidden fees, no marked up exchange rates, and no subscription costs to eat into your profits. You can get started with Wise in less time than it takes to make your morning cup of coffee, whether you're launching a new venture or scaling globally. To learn more about how Wise could work for your business, visit wise.com/business.
Do you know who doesn't do this? And it's a perfect example, Stephen Fry. I think the reason why Stephen Fry, being Heights' first ever customer and our brand ambassador, testimonials, like all of the stuff, and still our longer serving customer, all three products, actually emailed me last week. He usually does about one email. My joke is just about one email a year. I never know when it's going to come. Came last week. It's very exciting. And
That's very cool.
Yeah, it's also, he's so nice, man.
Yeah,
He's like, he emailed me to say that he just got back from a flight from New Zealand and he couldn't wait. His magnesium was waiting for him and he couldn't wait to take them before he goes to sleep because they've been helping so much with his deep sleep. And he's just so nice. And he got himself a little eye mask and he was ready to test it. And he's just so great. Anyway, he is a perfect example, right? He won't do brand deals. Like, what's the point? But he, he'll buy a product that he authentically likes and will use, will give advocacy and testimonial and all of the things in such an authentic way. And he actually said to us when he first gave us this testimonial, and he said, you can have it rights like for free forever, etc., etc. What is going to happen? We didn't know any of this at the time. I know this now. What's going to happen is you're going to get contacted fairly regularly by various agencies. And they're going to tell you, we can't use my image and you can't use me on ads. You can't do this. You can't do that. When that happens, just forward it to me. And I was like, right, okay, I don't know what this means, but sure, I'll do that. And so every 6 months you have some talent agent or some rights agent or some photography licensing agent, whatever. They will email you and tell you that you can't do this, you need to pay a fee, etc., etc., etc. And it's so passive aggressive, but I never respond to any of them. I just forward them to Stephen, and then about 10 minutes later, because he's the fastest emailer back ever, by the way, he'll respond being like, I've got this. And then they will just email within a day and be like, never mind, sorry.
All good. That is wild.
It's just the best way to be.
Yeah.
Like, he obviously, there's just so much authenticity about that positioning. And I think that's a perfect example of why he's such a perfect brand ambassador of Heights, because you just don't see Stephen Fry endorsing stuff. So you know that it's real.
Yeah, I mean, his business model is certainly not endorsing stuff.
No, of course it's not, right? Yeah. It's fucking spending 400 hours reading Harry Potter.
Yeah, I was going to say, I go to bed listening to him pretty much every night.
Well, a lot of people do.
Yeah. That's an amazing person to have in that early for the business as well. I wonder, did you even put a price on that? No. I mean,
no, but it's been exponentially valuable to the business. Yeah. But it's still to this day. I mean, that's the thing. How much, they say building a startup, you need talent, resilience, luck, all of these things. How much luck do you need that your first customer is Stephen Fry? And to this day, I think that is still the single most valuable thing that ever happened to our business. We're approaching 15 million now. Yeah. And that's still probably the most significant thing that's ever happened to our business. And we've had plenty.
Is it still your ads?
If you do the post-customer research, what's like the thing that most inspired you or whatever, the most common thing is Stephen Fry. And whenever I go
he's not an investor.
No, he's not an investor. But whenever I go to
equity.
But whenever I go to a thing, like, a talk or like a journalist or whatever, You have all this science research and like lots of different celebrities, and the only thing everyone wants to know is how do you get Stephen Fry?
Jeez.
That's the power of Stephen Fry. Like that is the power of being such an
Being choosy as
authentic
well.
person.
Yeah.
Totally.
Being very authentic. Yeah.
Yeah. So good feedback for both of us, I guess. Stop endorsing everything and just be more selective like Stephen.
Well,
I think be more Stephen Fry is great advice anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you're building from the ground up, it's very hard to take the advice of
That's
be
true.
famous.
That's true.
You know, spend a whole career being famous and then be choosy at the end. But I think I was saying to you outside, like I am going to be doing less and less and less and less sponsorship moving forwards.
Yeah, because you found a model that is more valuable to you.
Yeah, and also I think that the less you work with brands, the more you will make, the more authentic your relationship will be with a big brand.
Exactly.
And so, but then I also understand, like it's all well and good me sitting here saying that now. I've spent 2 years building an audience. At the beginning, I needed to fund the audience build some way.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's sort of where you are in the journey. But yeah, obviously, I now have new businesses that are audience dependent, and they financially make much more sense, much more alignment, and so forth.
I think it probably follows a practical reality as well of you need to build trust over time. You can't just go straight in there and start pushing stuff, right? You need to get people to buy into you and your story before you can start telling them what products to choose.
Yeah, and I think, you know, Dom was saying that, Dom Smale, to check out the episode, but he was saying like that people need to become more entertaining, as in become more like entertainers rather than just pushing products. And I think that's, you know, that is something that's always on my mind with content, is that at the end of the day, your content is there to entertain people. And I think there's a nuance between the platforms, but you should be creating the best, most entertaining content for your audience.
Yeah.
And so if you're just shilling stuff the whole time, you just won't have an audience.
I think Simon Squibb actually puts this very well. He calls it, I'm sure he didn't come up with it, but edutainment. Right, you're educating your audience, you're entertaining them. Your average person on TikTok or Instagram is not necessarily, you know, where is that person at that moment? Probably on their sofa scrolling, probably double screening, right? So second screening. So, you know, they're not there to be learning at that exact moment. So unless you can capture their attention with entertainment to make them laugh and then sneak in some education within that, you're probably just not going to get their time of day in the first place.
And obviously talking about shilling products, and those of you on audio won't be able to see this, but we are really promoting Heights everywhere around.
Oh,
here.
Heights sounds great. What's that?
You've got Heights here. You've got Heights down there. 2 Heights there. I'm not involved in Heights. I stand to gain nothing from this. So yeah, go Heights.
We're getting passive aggressive feedback from producer Jay. Producer Jay is pointing out he's snuck more Heights in here.
Oh, God.
There's more Heights.
This is like a whole fucking box of Heights.
Yeah.
Why do we need that much Heights in the studio?
I didn't want to say, but you're starting to look anemic, mate.
Did you get a little sell in?
Did you really go on holiday? I'm just saying that you could do with your vitamins. I know you struggle taking pills, but
I do. Because yeah.
These are the suppository edition just for you.
We are basically a Heights sponsored podcast. We're the in-house podcast for Heights.
Without the revenue.
yeah. Zero benefit.
Yeah, sorry. But go Heights.
But go Heights.
Yeah, thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you. Actually, speaking of revenue,
you know what's funny about being an entrepreneur? Everyone thinks we're these super productive machines, crushing it 24/7. But here's the truth. Sometimes just finding the right file feels like a treasure hunt. And that's why I'm excited to tell you about HP's new AI PC. I'm never nervous going into a virtual first impression because this camera is amazing. The Poly Camera Pro will set you up with perfect lighting and perfect framing, even from your kitchen counter. But the best part is its AI features. It can summarize 10,000 words in seconds. Let the HP AI companion focus on the research so you can focus on doing what's most important for your business. Look, I've built and sold companies worth millions, and I'll tell you this. When you've got work to do, you don't want bad tools to slow you down. The HP OmniBook Ultra Flip isn't just another laptop. Because of its integrated AI features, it's like having an entire support team built into your computer. Whether you're starting out or scaling up, this tech actually makes a difference. It's not just fancy features, it's about giving you back time to focus on what matters, building your business. A new AI era begins with the HP OmniBook Ultra Flip. This isn't just an upgrade, it's an absolute game changer. And trust me, once you try it, you'll wonder how you ever managed without it. For 10% off, use the code HP Lovework. That's HP Lovework for 10% off.
So for any of you that were paying attention at the start of the episode, I was halfway through an excellent story about Stephen Bartlett and his studio being his first guest, and Chris cut me off and just introed the episode. So
Sorry.
if you don't mind...
I must have lost focus for a moment there.
No shit. If you don't mind, I'm going to finish part 2 of my epic story.
Yeah, go.
It's more that he was the first person that I ever went into a studio of.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, you were like, oh, Beanie,
hat,
ha. But in reality,
Still tickles me a bit, yeah.
it is funny. But in reality,
can we get that on the thing again?
This was not a strong fashion choice.
Yeah.
I will admit. I didn't know it's going to become the most popular podcast ever. Anyway, but it was genuinely really cool. I'd been on lots of podcasts. I'd never seen someone put so much thought and attention into an actual proper studio set, and really thinking about all the little details and all that stuff. And it did make you feel like, oh, this guy's taking it seriously. I better I better take this seriously. I better be on my best game, because he clearly cares so much of what he's put together. That was in 2020.
Right.
It's the end of 2024. November 2024, we're recording this. And this studio is a pipe dream. So I started Secret Leaders in 2017. You know, there was many photos of me recording it with a microphone under my bedsheet covers. So literally under a duvet, to record ads, because that was the best way to get sound quality.
Wow.
Because I was sitting in a flat that was like loads of windows, reverberations and all this stuff. So to go from, recording ads under a bedsheet duvet, to sitting in a studio with my friend and a new business partner, an amazing office here, a great team. Like, it feels really, really awesome. I'm super proud of it. And I think it's also a nice story here, which is like, this started in 2017. It's 2024.
Yeah.
This is the perfect example of not just that good things take time, because that's probably too long time.
That's a long time.
It's a long time. And that's
like
not
25 or something.
Yeah, and that's not actually, like, that part isn't so much necessary. But the point is, as long as you're doing something you enjoy, as long as you like what you're doing, that is the way, like, staying power. At the end of the day, most companies fail, most businesses fail, because people fall out. The people that are the creators, the people who are in charge of it, whatever, they fall out of love with it.
Yeah.
That was starting to happen to me a little bit. Really lucky that we got into a great conversation about it at the time. Working with you has totally re-energized and reinvigorated me to come back to this with more gusto and love it even more. But, like, in general, this is like a great example for people to understand that so long as you continue to like doing the thing that you do, you never know when that big uptick's happening. That's really happening for us right now.
I'd also just say I love the convenience of it. I feel like if you're going to do something, as much as that, this takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of energy. There's so many people involved now. If you're going to do that, it has to be easy for you.
And fun.
Yeah. If it's hard and it's not that fun, it will probably come across. Whereas I'm loving this. And I think that for those on audio, like, check out the photos. We have literally built a professional TV set in our office. And so we're going to get some of the best guests in the world to come on this show now.
And we do often give a nice big shout out to producer Jay, who's usually in the background trolling us. So, hey, Jay.
Right,
but just wave your hand over here, Jay, for a second. There we go. Oh, see a hand. Hey, there we go. But actually, big shout out to El Jefe, our boss, Tom.
Tom.
Tom has done an incredible job decking out this studio.
I think he said he'd been in here for 30 hours or something.
I definitely believe that. And the details are amazing. So Tom has not just thought of all the things that matter in business, all these different business books that he's put everywhere. They've been truly thought out to every single detail.
He knows I love tennis so much, so he got me an old tennis racket.
Stan Smith Capri tennis racket.
Isn't that sweet?
Really adorable.
Yeah, I think the attention to detail in here is going to make a huge difference moving forwards for the show.
How you do the little things is how you do everything. And right here, we want to show that we care about the details.
Guys fucking talking in clips. I need to do some shit like that. Fucking unbelievable.
You should read some of these books, mate. It starts with an education.
Yeah. I don't think I've read any of these books.
I know.
Where's it? Play the game? No.
It's all right. You're talking to the common man. That's fine.
Yeah. I'm making content for all. The masses. So obviously I've just come back from holiday. I've been away for a while. So thank you for asking how it was.
I didn't actually notice that you were away, in fairness. It's basically the same shit going on. So.
Amazing that I was away and I was practicing my new, be peace with the world. Don't look at my phone. And I was amazed that after a week of looking at my phone, you had only messaged me once.
Yeah.
That is like really respecting the boundaries.
I not only messaged you once, I messaged you once to offer you a free health scan.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
I messaged you, sorry for interrupting your holiday. Can I offer
yeah.
you something that there's a massive waiting list for that everyone wants? And I was like, my friend Chris would like this.
Yeah. Amazing from you.
Yeah. So you're welcome.
But yeah, fully practice
Sort of a tan almost?
No tan.
A tiny.
Unfortunately, just don't have it in me.
Okay.
Yeah. I
I'm
once did go away
similar.
for a whole year traveling and came back the same colour.
Yeah.
So a little bit redder maybe.
Yeah, of course.
But the holiday was amazing and very much went offline, like turned my phone off for 90% of the holiday. And I would say that I now want to do that much, much more. I'm almost thinking, could I go phoneless? I bought a touch tone phone, but could I go phoneless from Friday 5 p.m. onwards till Monday? I'm thinking that might be the thing I'm going to aim to do.
That is a great ambition.
Yeah.
I've actually just used, funny enough, I've just used Black Friday to try and set myself up simply to not have my phone in my bedroom. Basically, I discussed not having our phones in my bedroom with my wife after we spoke to Hector with Unplugged.
Yeah.
And she gave up so many different objections, like, you know, you've got to see the baby monitor and all this stuff. So I bought an iPad. Baby monitor goes on there. And she's like, with the alarm. I bought a little alarm clock thing.
Yeah.
I just bought things
That's
to be like,
actually
hey,
a great point.
now we just move our phone.
People always say, I need my phone for the alarm. Buy a fucking clock.
Yeah, well, I
Cost you
bought a fucking
£9.
clock.
Yeah. Like, crazy that we now sleep with, like, our phones here. I just find that mad.
It's actually great, though. We objection handled it together. And I was like, right, well, let's find out what those are. And now let's start putting our phones downstairs.
Yeah.
So I'm quite looking forward to those things arriving and doing it.
So, no, it was fantastic. Very nice to be offline. And obviously, we had Nicola Kilner on the show. We did
Legend.
Black Friday episode with her. Absolute legend. Like, that company is worth billions and she's CEO and she's a legend. But on that, after we did the episode, she was like, you know, you would get along with my husband. And then you introduced me to her husband. And then I ended up spending loads of time in Barbados with Nicola's husband. Went out on a boat for the day together. Like, he was so incredibly generous with my wife and I.
And also, small world, I just did an event for him yesterday with Fern Cotton and Spencer Matthews.
Yeah, I saw the photo.
Yeah. So funny.
He's like the tallest dude in the world.
He's like 7 foot tall.
Yeah, unbelievable. But he's an entrepreneur as well, which we didn't really talk to Nicola about. That they're both wildly successful.
His business Thrive is incredible.
Yeah.
In Nottingham.
But he's also had like 3 or 4 businesses. Like, very successful guy. Now owns these pubs. He's built the town and a small version of the town for kids at his, but like, honestly, incredible guy. So yeah, I would say best holiday in a long time.
Really?
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah, I think that takeaway is I'm not going to be on my phone like I used to be.
I do feel like that is, you know, I won't say privilege, it's also discipline, but I guess what I'm really getting to in my emotions is I'm jealous that you probably have a good enough setup. Yeah, that you feel like you could do that. I don't feel like my setup's there that I could do that.
It's really comes down to being very, very good at the times that you're on and being super organized and boundary setting.
Yes.
And like, when I break it down, the reason I would be on my phone outside of work hours is to alleviate some sort of stress or provide information for a work situation. Now, if I say to everyone within these parameters, like decision make, I've been doing it for a few weeks now. And I love the comment when people are like, you haven't checked your phone all night. I'm like, well, yeah, what's there to check? I'm here. We're here in this moment. So yeah, I'm gonna keep doing it.
Yeah. I think that is a good example. Like, I can do that. I can be at dinner with someone and not check my phone for hours. That's not really the problem. It's just during the day, like, and especially in a work day, knowing that things are coming up, I need to get into that level of discipline. It's impressive. Okay, so I saw this on Joe Rogan, and this blew my mind. I do enjoy Joe Rogan's podcast, but obviously some of it's hit and miss. He had Mark Andreessen on. Now, for starters, I usually listen to all podcasts and Audible and everything on 1.5 speed. This has been so... Firstly, Mark Andreessen speaks quickly. Secondly...
For those that don't know, who is it?
He is pretty much the most successful guy in Silicon Valley. He is the founder of Andreessen Horowitz, which is also known as A16Z. It's a giant venture capital fund.
Monster.
And they are pretty much globally known as the best venture capital fund in the world. So, a very smart guy. And there's loads of clips of him going viral on Joe Rogan's show. And this one blew my mind because I didn't know this was happening. He was talking about what the Democrats were basically doing whilst he was running A16Z and couldn't really talk about it. He basically says that the government were unbanking. Out of nowhere, they were unbanking anyone they didn't like. Crypto, like if you had a business in crypto, guns, weed, or politically exposed people, and also some right-wing voices.
Debanking, taking away their bank account.
Taking away their bank account from one day to the next. So you could be running Lottie, and the next day not have a bank account if you were a government dissenter, or your business was in a space that they
As in
deemed...
you're publicly against the government and they take away your bank account.
Well, that's what he's saying, or, you know, who knows the extent of that being true, but also crypto, guns, weed, so in vice areas, but that are legal in those states. And if they deemed, and these are A16Z backed companies that he's talking about as well, right? So he's literally saying these are founders we work with that from one day to the next had their bank account taken away by the government. And so they were having to run their businesses in cash. So like imagine like millions of dollars in cash and like not having a literal bank account to like know how to run their business. Anyway, I just thought that I came across this clip and I was just like, that is mind-blowing to me that the government could do something like that to you running a tech company or a credible founder. You found an opportunity space. You're serving customers. You're within the official legal
It's quite terrifying.
restrictions. It's terrifying.
So when you're saying the government, you mean...
Yeah, the Biden administration. And he talks about...
And he's saying that now because Trump's in.
Well, he's saying he's very relieved that Trump's in, actually. And he's another person who's moved from left to right on the basis he's like, you know, I had this experience being one of the biggest venture capitalists in the country.
And they're debanking my startups.
Yeah, and he's lots of chat he's saying on Rogan on this episode where he's talking about the Biden administration. We had lots of meetings with them and they did this. And then we had meetings with them and then they did that. So it's very much like they are anti-success and anti-tech. And anyway, I thought it was wild.
I mean, they are, because we know that amazing story where they had like the EV summit. And they invited all the electric vehicle companies and they didn't invite Tesla.
Mate, they've just done it again. Did you see this? They've just done it again. They're having another EV summit in California.
Yeah.
And Tesla are the only EV company that produce and manufacture in California, and they haven't invited him or Tesla. And they're the only ones who do it there.
Yeah. Mind blowing.
Politics, man. So basically the most successful person in Silicon Valley is going on Rogan and saying, with evidence, that the Biden administration were going and taking away successful company founders' bank accounts and unbanking them so they literally can't do business. All right, that's a wrap. Hope you hold on to your bank account. Hope I do as well. Thank you very much for listening to this week's chat on Secret Leaders. Please do not forget to hit subscribe.
On YouTube?
On YouTube or follow on your podcast player. We will take what we're given.
Yeah.
And also, please check us out on Tuesday. We are interviewing Casper Lee for a brilliant episode on his take on the creator economy. Until next week, I'm Dan.
I'm Chris.
And this is Secret Leaders. Thank you.